The way you see the world creates the world you see. Our worldview, our beliefs about what we think is going on, about our market, about our industry, about our employees, about our customers, about our investors. All of this shapes what we do. And what we do shapes reality. I give you a very quick example. You all are familiar with the quote, "You're the 5 people you spend the most time with." Why is that? It's a very simple psychological explanation. The 5 people you spend the most time with determine what type of conversations you're having. The type of conversations you're having determine what you think about when you are alone. When those conversations echo while you're in the shower, while you're taking a walk, while you're driving the car, and you keep thinking about the things you were talking about. What you think about when you are alone becomes part of your beliefs over time. And you bring those beliefs, you bring those thoughts back into your business, into your organizational world. So they will then determine your decisions. You make decisions based on what you believe, based on how you see the world, based on the conversations you're having, based on the thoughts you're having. Those decisions then will be turned into action if you are a leader, not necessarily by yourself, but by those who you are leading. They will execute those decisions. Some might resist them, some actively, some passively. Some cases you might never know if it was actually executed. But for the most part, people will because they want to keep their jobs. So people now execute on your decisions, and that creates new outcomes. And those new outcomes become new realities in your organization and with your stakeholders, for your customers, depending on what the decision is about. What you need to understand here is that a lot of the things, a lot of the challenges that you're facing in your organization can be traced back to the decisions that were made at some point. Sometimes also to the decisions that were not made, the decisions that were postponed, that were not executed. And if we want to look at change in our organizations, and I firmly believe change is the operating mode of any organization, there's no way around it. An organization is a living organism that constantly evolves. It's an ecosystem. If you want to be on top of that change, if you want to be more intentional about these changes, we need to work upstream on our own worldviews and beliefs as leaders. I've worked with hundreds of leaders over the past years, and we always face the same pattern, the same situation. Often, information about the company, about the organization doesn't come to us because it's filtered politically to different layers of hierarchy. Or the real critical information about risks or opportunities doesn't reach us because nobody dares to speak up. Nobody wants to take a risk, especially if you're leading leaders. They have a lot at stake as well. And so what I've learned over all of those years is that leaders need an external sounding board that is independent of their day-to-day reality, that is independent of their own organizational context. Because in your own organizational context, there are always certain risks when it comes to how people perceive you. You don't want to be the leader who asks the mid-level manager for advice. Now, depends on your company culture, but in most cases, that could potentially hurt your authority, because aren't you supposed to know everything? And so leaders benefit from having an external sounding board, and I wouldn't even call it a sounding board. It is really a stress test environment in which I work with leaders one-on-one in 60 to 90 minutes sessions, and we stress test your assumptions. We stress test the way you see your world and your organization. We fracture your outdated frames. We fracture your outdated beliefs, and we facilitate clarity, especially as you are facing high-stakes decisions in inflection points, like massive changes that need to be done, people who might need to get fired in certain positions who have been around for a very long time. Any disruption Maybe you need to completely pivot into a new industry or into a new product. All of those decisions require clarity of thought. And that clarity of thought comes from A, understanding the context as much as it is possible, having a clear map of reality of your own organization and its environment, but also working with somebody to process that information and to actually turn it into insights and interpretations. Sometimes when we do this by ourselves, we are limited to a certain degree. Sometimes our own mind can become an echo chamber. I'm here to break those rigid thought patterns open. Those mental operating software systems that are not up to speed with your actual reality, especially as reality moves and evolves. So if this resonates with you, and if you sense that maybe your current map of reality is a bit murky and it's not really clear, it feels a bit blurred, then now is the time to intervene and reestablish clarity so that you can make proper high-stakes decisions, make clear trade-offs, and be in the driver's seat of your organization.